Hey everyone, this is Steve with another episode of Keep 'em Rolling. And we're going to do things a little bit differently today. I've enjoyed making videos, and well, you know what, I can't say that. I'm an individual who, unfortunately, when it comes to making videos, is somewhat of a perfectionist. Public speaking for me has always been an easy thing, but for some reason, whenever I get behind a camera, I feel like I have to be the epitome of perfection. And it doesn't make for an easy video shoot. I can't tell you how long it takes me to actually shoot videos that I put on YouTube. And I just don't understand why that is. I've tried relaxing, I've tried changing up how I do things, and yet I still get so doggone focused on how perfect things have to be that it just doesn't become fun. In fact, there are many times where my video, halfway through, I end up in a shouting match over the fact that I fumbled a word or forgot to include something or just didn't like how things were going in general. So, it's one of those things. I don't think that people who watch videos on YouTube, and I'm not trying to insult anybody here, but I don't think that people who watch videos on YouTube, many of them realize how difficult it is for some people to actually do what they do. So, for this one, we're going to mix it up a bit. For this one, after that kind of diatribe, I'm going to try doing a video that's more of me just speaking, kind of like I do with my public speaking career. That being said, we're going to skip the lead-in today because I have some really cool stuff to show you. And we're going to start right here with the shadow box. Now, the shadow box is an end of a journey I've been on. About maybe a 15-year journey or so. About 15 years ago, at my job, I met a fantastic gal who, she found out that I was interested in the World War II type of history and collecting, and she introduced me to her father, who happened to be a World War II veteran. He was in the Navy in the South Pacific. Great guy. Got a chance to meet him a couple of times. Great conversations, stories about what he did. Well, unfortunately, he passed away, and he passed away quite a few years ago, but when he did, the daughter approached me and told me that they really didn't have any heirs that she could pass things to, her and her husband. So she wanted to know if I wanted to be kind of the ad hoc heir, if you will, and, continue on the tradition that her father, the memory, etc. of her father. And, I was highly honored. When someone approaches you and tells you that they want to give you something, to me, that's just the most humbling moment that any collector can have. I mean, it's just incredible. And she dropped off a scrapbook, just a fantastic scrapbook with photos that he had taken in the South Pacific. Everything was labeled. It was just, exquisite. And she dropped off his dog tags and some Filipino currency, etc., Japanese occupation currency that he'd brought back. And then, that was it. Well, about a week ago, she had since retired. She looked me up and said that her and her husband going through kind of cleaning out stuff at home, and they'd come across more of her father's military memorabilia and wanted to know if I would like to add it to what she'd already given me. So, answer resounding yes, and this is what she dropped off right here. This fantastic shadow box. He had actually built this himself, and something that I've seen a lot of these veterans do. They kind of crafted their own things. They didn't go to the store, they didn't go to Michael's and buy their metal box. They built their own. He took just kind of a standard frame, and he ended up using a hard backing on it. It's almost like a piece of basement plywood is what it looks like, or paneling, like you'd see in the 1970s rec room. And he cut that to fit, and then he mounted on that this kind of purple velour-y material here. You can see it, you can get close enough there. And then he mounted his ribbon bar and his medals. And let me tell you, he really mounted these things. The ribbon bar, if you look close, holy cow, he actually used nails. Did it very well, though. I mean, you don't really notice them. And then for the ribbons, or the medals themselves, he actually put screws through the hanger. So if you flip this up, you can see the screw, and these things aren't going anywhere, I'm telling you. Now, what's nice about this is it gives you kind of a snapshot of what he did. Over here on the left, we have the World War II Victory Medal. We have the Asiatic Pacific Medal, which is reflected on his ribbon bar up there, right there, with 4 battle stars. We have his American Campaign Medal with the American Campaign ribbon on his ribbon bar. And then we have his Good Conduct Medal. What's interesting is there's one in this case, and then I also have a second one, and the second one has his name on it, which I really like. And then up here, this little ribbon right here is the Philippine Liberation ribbon with 1 battle star. So just a nice, nice grouping. Well, she also handed me, along with this, she handed me this kind of odd duck tube. It's made out of like a japanned tin, so we can tap it there. It is metal. The top's been roughly cut off of it. It's just unusual. There's really no markings on it. It's been wrapped in what appears to be almost like medical tape. And then on here, stamped, are sensor stamps. So past naval sensor, it's signed. You got one there. You've got one kind of hidden here. You got another one here. You got one up here. So there's like 4 or 5 stamps on this tube. Now, it doesn't look like he mailed it home. It looks like it's something that he kind of packed up, put in his sea bag, and then he had to have it passed by inspectors because there's no address or anything on here where it had been sent home. His daughter said that that tube, he held some war memorabilia that he brought back. And in the tube rolled up were these pictures. I mean, they're just amazing. Now, they were rolled up tight, I'm telling you. But look at these things. Look, a company of Japanese soldiers. And they're so clear, we're going to try and zoom in here and see how the camera works out for us. But they are so clear, and you can just see all the expressions on these guys' faces. Down in front, of course, the officers with their samurai swords. So we have this one here. This one's unusual. I'm going to have to do more research, but they're wearing like traditional costumes. It looks like it's a festival of some sort. I really like this one. We have a group of women, 3 Japanese soldiers, and when you look, it's very strange. Some of the women look very scared, like these women here. I mean, she's holding on to the other gal's coat. But then the rest, some look happy, some look unsure, but then some are wearing these armbands. So I don't know if they're like a home guard type of group, and maybe these guys are on leave. They also have armbands on as well. I'm going to see if I can have them translated and, try and figure out who these people are. Down here we have another company photo. It's a big, beautiful home in the background. And then finally we have a photo here of a Japanese colonel. A very serious gentleman with his sword. And then check out that ribbon rack. But all of these photos were rolled up tightly inside that tube. Now his daughter, she really didn't have any idea where or how he acquired all of these photos. These aren't something that I picture a Japanese soldier actually carrying on him. Maybe an officer had them. Maybe he found them at a command post. Who knows where he found these photographs? But they were kind of rolled up real tight in this tube. And that was the problem, is getting these things to unroll. I think all of us collectors have come across the big World War I yard-long photos that are all rolled up, and other photos that are just rolled up. They're rolled up so tight that it's almost impossible to flatten them. Flattening them is something that's very time-consuming. If you're going to flatten a photo, you need to have lots of patience. Just trying to unroll it right away can cause damage. It can actually cause the photos to crack and break. What I did for these, it took me a couple of days. They were already soft enough, which was lucky. And what I did is I put them in a room where we have a humidifier in our house, and I allowed that extra moisture to kind of relax them a little bit more. Now, I want to stress, I did not get them wet, okay? They were just in a room with more moisture, which allowed them to kind of relax. Now, once they were relaxed a little bit, I put them underneath some heavy books. And this is very important. If you're going to do this, make sure to put some sort of leafing between the photo and the book that you use. Because a heavy book, pressing down on this, sometimes the patternation in the cover of the book can actually transfer over to the photo and leave the pattern in the photo, ruining the photo, and you don't want that to happen. So, the paper I use is actually acid-free computer paper. You can buy it at your local craft shop, and you just put a couple sheets between the photo and the book, and you got your protection. Now, they didn't quite flatten all the way, so the next step was I went to my local coin shop, and they have these really nice heavy-duty kind of mylar sleeves right here. They run about $1 for the smaller ones, a couple bucks for the bigger ones, and you can see the photo still has a bit of a curl, but very carefully I slid them into these sleeves, if you will, and what it does is it allows them to be handled now, and it allows them to display. So I can stand them up or, show people, and I don't have to worry about them going back to curl, because sometimes after all that flattening, if you don't maintain it, they'll curl right back up again. Just the nature of the beast. Now, the interesting thing that in the bottom of this shipping container was this right here. Look at that. I could not believe it when I pulled it out. A Japanese silk meatball flag. Now, when I initially pulled it out, I was stunned. I mean, this is just the ultimate souvenir that a sailor or a GI could bring home, or a Marine. But then as I started to unravel it, I saw at the bottom was heavily damaged. I was kind of sad. I thought, oh, doggone it. I mean, it's a cool souvenir, but it'd be nice if it wasn't damaged. But then I began to look at it. Now, I have dealt with, as part of my job, silk items and so forth and so on that are old. And silk, what it tends to do over time, it tends to do what's called shattering. If it's bad silk. And it's just a natural decay process of the material. It's nothing that you can prevent. It just happens. And I thought that's what was going on here, was it was shattering. But the only thing is, if something shatters, if something starts to fall apart, a couple of things happen. First of all, it's not a clean thing that happens. In other words, shattering will happen all through the garment. You'll have holes up here and holes here and holes down here. It won't just happen along the edge. Okay? The second thing is, when something starts to shatter, it keeps going. So if I were to pick up this edge here and kind of feel it, it's just going to crumble. I mean, it just crumbles to dust. Okay? That's not happening here. It's still real solid all along here. Okay? The third thing is, if there's shattering, it continues to happen, and inside this tube, when I dump that flag out, I should have been able to dump out all the bits and pieces and dust from this flag falling apart over the years. It did not happen. His daughter told me that the flag had been down in there for probably 40, 50 years easy. He just did not get it out. So, my assumption on this, and I've had a few other collectors of Japanese memorabilia take a look at it, my assumption is that this flag was flown. They tend to agree with me. Now we're looking at it hanging kind of down. Let's turn the camera and get it from a different angle. So, there you go. So up here, on this edge right here, this would be where the mast would be attached, or the pole. And then down here, this would be the end that is whipping in the winds of the South Pacific. Now, whether or not that is 100% true, I have not been able to prove that, but boy, it sure looks like it. Putting everything that I know about flags and materials and so forth and so on, that's what it looks like, which just blows my mind and lets my imagination, to be honest with you, go absolutely wild. Now, to go along with this, I added one other thing to my collection. I'm not a big foreign collector. This will stay in my collection because it belonged to the Navy vet. I have his name. I know, how he got it. At least, he got it in the South Pacific. This wasn't something he bought at a flea market. This is something that he acquired, okay? But I did add one more piece of Japanese memorabilia to the collection. A couple of days ago, I had a group of friends over. I belong to a small group of gentlemen who are collectors, and we get together once every couple of months, and what we like to do is we go to each other's homes, and we have dinner, and we talk about things we found, and we bring things with us to show off, and we also bring things to sell and trade. So it was my turn, and they came to my house, and looked at my collection, we had dinner, and just a nice evening, and then we got out the stuff to trade and sell, and I was able to sell off a few pieces that I had picked up here and there that really didn't fit in my collection. And one of the gentlemen, well, he brought along, I'll put it down here so you can see it on display, he brought along this right here. And I fell in love with it. It is a Japanese World War II enlisted man's visored cap. It's got the star on the front there and the visor. It's got the chrysanthemum buttons on the side. Now, I don't know a whole lot about Japanese headgear. The gentleman that I got it from, he is very knowledgeable in Japanese headgear, and the reason he was getting rid of this is he had this for a number of years, and then he found one that was a little bit better condition, and therefore it was replacing this one. So he wanted to move it on. The nice thing is, we were able to make up a trade. I had some Japanese insignia that I had found at a flea market at one time, or it came to me, I don't remember how I really got it, and I was able to trade him the insignia and some cash to acquire this hat. As I said, I'm not really going to delve into collecting Japanese items in earnest, but I thought this was just a nice, piece to add to what you see going on here. Now, my point of all this is, number one, Get to know the people you work with. Get to know, neighbors. Get to know, family of girlfriend, family of other friends. And you never know what items are going to come out of the woodwork when people find out that you're interested. A lot of times we look at these things as just irreplaceable historical treasures. They look at these items as an albatross around their neck. What am I ever going to do with the Japanese flag? What am I ever going to do with these photographs or with Dad's medals when I have no one to pass them on to? Make yourself that person that they'll be passed on to. I mean, it is such an honor. And number two, for all you young collectors, get to know other collectors in your area. Go to shows, meet people. Start that organization, start that networking, because it is really fun to have a group of guys and gals to sit around with and talk about your collecting and share what you have found. That's one of these reasons why I do these videos. Now, I do apologize once again for the start. It is one of those things that, as I said, it is difficult for me. I don't know why with a camera. And this format seems to be working better, where I just kind of talk to you and leave it at that. So, on that note, I want to thank all of you for watching, and I want you to all know that I'll be adding some more videos here throughout the next couple of weeks. I'm really excited about some of the other things that have come my way, and some things in the collection that I just want to share their stories. So, on that note, I want to remind all of you collectors out there to keep them rolling, and this is Steve, signing off. Thanks for watching.